Everybody, welcome back to another wonderful episode of Fix Your BS, where BS stands for belief systems, but we also can use BS for balance sheets or business systems. That's right. We like talking about business, relationships, finances, health, and also belief. And I always scour the internet trying to find people that fit those categories and where they are just living a fulfilled, blessed, content, happy, joyful life, because that's what we all want anyway, isn't it? And so today we found Sarah Weaver. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Sarah. She's an author. She's a speaker. She's a coach. She's a real estate investor and a business owner, and very unique in the fact that she owns multiple businesses. She has three of them. They serve real estate investors, and real estate agents. She travels the country coaching real estate agents and hosting intimate retreats for investors. Talk about a dream life, right? She's got Invested Adventures, which hosts epic events for real estate investors all over the world. She has Arya Design Services, which helps investors analyze, furnish, and launch their furnished rentals nationwide. And the Sarah Weaver Mentorship Program, which serves investors looking to grow their portfolios no matter where they live. Without further ado, Sarah, thank you for being on here and really appreciate you sharing some wisdom with our guests.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So amazing. Our goal is to help people live a happier, more fulfilled, content, just joyful life, because that's really what we all want. You are one of those people that are just exuding joy and happiness. And I love that about you. I love that about you in your social media. I love it about you in your content and in the things that you do. But even when you hopped on this call, happy, immediately, just excited. And so many people don't live there. So how did you get to that? Is that something you've always been like? Is that something that you developed into? Like, where is that? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. I think that it is something that I've worked on. I watched this really great video, and I use it with my coaching and my students a lot. And so I'll kind of summarize it in it's easy for us to live and blame and, oh, everybody else is so lucky and I wish I could be that way, or, oh, if I could just lose 20 pounds, I'd be happy then. Or if I could, save $20,000, I'll be happy then. And frankly, we're wired to do that. Like scientifically proven to, if we get that feeling of, oh no, something's wrong, it used to mean that like a bear or a tiger or a lion was going to come after us and like we needed to react. But the conveniences of, the 21st century is that most days I'm not under attack. But my body doesn't know that. And so those same feelings of, and angst and, oh, woe is me still kind of live within inside of us. And so what I do is I look at, okay, how can I be what I call above the line? So above the line is curious, joyful, optimistic, friendly, kind, really curious. So instead of like, oh, that jerk cut me off in traffic. I'm wondering what's going on with his day. He must either A, just be a really bad driver, or B, maybe his wife just told him she wants to divorce him. Like just being in a place of curiosity, I think helps with a lot of those moments. But that doesn't mean that I like live above the line all the time. I'm not like walking around like, yippee, like I love that I'm late today. Or, even like the very first minute I hopped on, I'm like, sorry, give me 1 minute. So I'm not always naturally joyful, but what I am really good at is what I call rebounding above the line. So when I go to that moment of, anxious or stress, it's like, okay, is this true? That's the first question you should always ask yourself. So like, will I be happy when I lose 20 pounds? One, is that true? Yeah, possibly. But I also could be happy right now at my current weight or my current bank account balance. So like, not really true, right? So first, is it true? And then two, is there something you can do about it? So a lot of times the issues that we are stressed about, like people that are scared about flying, for example, not really, unless you're the pilot, not a lot you can do about the actual flight pattern, right? Or turbulence. And so, one, it's probably not true. So, like, it's not statistically proven that your plane's probably not going to go down. So one, like that's not true. And then two, can you do anything about it? Not really. Like, unless you're the pilot. And
Right.
so then making a decision like, okay, I'm gonna let that go.
Mm.
That's kind of
I love that you just said that though. You make the decision that I'm going to let that go. And that is so, so true. Really what you're talking about is beliefs. It's tuning into what your thoughts are and what you actually believe and why you believe that. Because, you're only born with two fears. Did you know that? Have you ever heard that? You're
no.
only born with two fears. So you're born with the fear of falling. That's why when like a baby goes to like drop or whatever, they freak out. And you're born with fear of loud noises. Every other fear in your life is learned.
Uh-huh.
So you got to wonder, like when you have a fear of, let's say, doing an investment, like you help people with investments and real estate investments, and I bet you've dealt with
It could be
people that are
scary.
like scared, oh, I don't want to lose my money. Well, don't let's think about that for a second. What does the money mean to you? Why are you so connected with it? Well, what could you earn more? Is it possible? Are you dealing with somebody that's reputable, that has a track record? So they actually get the data and information, and that way they're less nervous. But most of the time, fear comes from the acronym false evidence appearing real.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've ever heard that, but feel free to use it if you haven't, because that's the way it works. But false evidence is just you making stuff up in your head, and only one reality is actually going to happen. So, do you have any? We're going to go down this path for a second, but do you have any stories like that where you were dealing with people investment wise, where you're helping them, guiding them through, because you've traveled a lot and looked at investments in a lot of different areas? Anybody that you had to kind of talk off the ledge that you were like, look, let's think about this. I mean, is there any stories that you have like that?
Yeah, well, every week, that's what I do. Right now I have 62 students in my coaching program, and they are students just like you and me. They have
Mm,
families, they have jobs, they have people relying on them, and they don't want to lose their money. I don't want to lose my money. I worked hard to earn that money. And I love what you said. Like, I love asking yourself, can you earn more money? That's good. I'm gonna use that. So thank you for
oh,
that.
feel free.
But
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
so many people are scared. And so, yeah, let me tell you about one of my students. Let's call her Vanessa. That's not her name. And Vanessa came to me and she said, like, okay, like I unfortunately have lost my husband.
Mm,
And so like I am, solely responsible for my two sons. And like more or less this has to work. And I said, "Oh, Vanessa, like that rings so true for me, not because my circumstances are the same, but I am unmarried. My parents don't have money. And so when I first invested in real estate, I was like, this has to work. Like there's
mm,
no backup plan. I did at the time I didn't make a lot of money. I was making $47,000 when I first started investing in real estate. That was my salary. I didn't have any side hustles or other streams of income. That was it. And I didn't have a significant other. And my parents are incredible support system for me, but not financially. And so I was like, this has to work. And so I told her that. And she's like, okay, so what did you do? And the first thing I tell real estate investors or aspiring real estate investors is a lot of the ways to quiet your fear, especially that like waking up at 3 a.m., oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm so scared kind of feeling, is in knowledge. And so
mm.
the first thing real estate investors need to learn is they need to learn how to analyze deals. And so I sat with Vanessa and we analyzed the deal backwards and forward and backward and worst case scenario, best case scenario. If this happens, pull this lever. If this happens, pull this lever. And at the end of the analysis, she was like, "Yeah, this is a good deal." I mean, it's math. It is a good deal.
Isn't it funny though? Like you just talked through that and the certainty that she gained, which then eliminates the fear because the only reason you'd have fear is if you're really uncertain about the outcome.
Well, if you don't know, well, actually, I don't know how much I can rent it for. Well, then probably shouldn't buy it yet. Like, don't buy it yet. Like, let's figure out how much could you rent it for? And then always ask, going back to that first question, is it true?
Mm,
So my real estate agent said I can rent it for 1,700 a month. Okay, well, is it true? We don't make investment purchases based off of what a real estate agent says. That's the first thing. And so then you learn how to research what are comparable rent prices in the area, and are they actually comparable? Meaning, does that 2 bedroom, 2 bath have in-unit laundry, access to a pool, a parking space, covered parking, garage? So you really go down this like, and at that point, you're really looking at the data. And then you make a choice to quiet the emotional side of investing, which is fear-based, as it should be, because investing is risky. This is not guaranteed. If I wanted guaranteed, then I just, get a W-2 job and I trade my time for money, and that's guaranteed until they fire you.
Yeah, I was going to say, but also that's not guaranteed, because you have no control of that company, and you have no control of the finances, and you have no control of the economy, and if it downsizes, and there's also a lot of that. So people have this idea of, oh, I'm less risky because I'm in a W-2 job. But the way I look at it is I go, well, you have a worse downside and you have less control. So to me, that's more risky.
I couldn't agree more.
Like you have less upside.
The day that I was let go from a job, I was making almost dollar per dollar the same in profit from my rental properties. So guess what, you guys? When I got let go, I said, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, at least I got a backup right there.
I can sleep pretty well tonight because I get to sleep in tomorrow. No, I mean, obviously I was upset and it was a curveball. And I said, oh my gosh, thank God that I have these other streams of income, because now in like 4 short years, I've added 7 streams of income.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you said in 4 short years, because a lot of people would consider taking the time to invest in yourself and taking the time to invest money to earn more money, 4 years to be a long time. There's a lot of people out there that look at social media and they see people doing things and they just make these assumptions about how long it took them to get there and how much or little struggle they went through, and they have all these nice things or whatever, or they assume they have those nice things. They don't realize they could be in debt up to their eyeballs, and they could be losing money every month, and they could be renting something that is makes them look flashy. They're filling in a lot of gaps or holes with potential information. And what would you tell somebody that is looking at that and going, oh man, 4 years? Don't know, that seems like a lot. What would you say to somebody like that?
Then what do you need to do it in 1? I mean, I probably could have added all of those streams of income in a year. And then you ask yourself, then what are you saying no to? So are you saying no to spending more time with your kids? Everything comes at a cost. So like one of my streams of income is royalties from my book. Well, guess what? You have to write the book. Oh, and before you write the book, you have to write a book proposal, and then it has to get accepted by publishing. And so all of that came at a cost. I spent 83 days writing that book. And frankly, I'm a really fast writer. And so someone else listening here, it might take you longer to write a book. But that's one of my streams of income. My other stream of income is, as you mentioned, Arya Design Services. So I offer services to real estate agents. Well, it's a great business because guess what? That book that I wrote is one of my best lead generation sources for my furnishing services, but it all takes time. And so if someone wants to do it faster, they can, but you might be working late. You might eat fast food and your health might decline. I mean, everybody needs to ask at what cost. And I think that in the day and age that we're in now, where everything's posted on social media and we are on podcasts and we like, catchy podcast titles, it feels like everybody's in a race. And, I wanted to go to 30 countries before I turned 30. And, but I didn't need to become a millionaire before I turned 30. I didn't need to get married and have 2 kids before I turned 30. What was my priority? My priority was travel. And so everybody kind of needs to decide what is your priority and focus on that. And then also just remember, guys, life is not a race. Like
enjoy the moment. I love that. Yeah.
It took me 4 years to build a portfolio of 19 units. Could I have done it in 2? Yeah, probably. But what would I have been giving up?
But my point with that is 4 years is not a long time. If you
Not at
look
all.
at if you look at, you know, if you really look at 10 years, 20 years, like I just turned 40 not that long ago as well. And I look at the best years of my life and my prime is right ahead of me. Like
Mm.
if you're 25 or 30 and you haven't made it yet, well, of course not. I mean, that's it, like less than 1.1, less than 0.1% of the population makes it at 25 or 30. Like that's not when you generally understand things. And if you think in terms of 5 or 10 years and you go, what can I do every single day to get a little bit better, to grow, to invest in myself, invest in my future? What you can do in 10 years is absolutely astronomical compared to what you think you can do
Yeah,
instead
well,
of rushing and being in a hurry.
I believe it's Tony Robbins who says people underestimate what they can do in 10 years, but they tend to overestimate what they do in a year. So
Yeah.
what happens when I say, okay, I'm going to buy 3 rental properties this year, start dating again, fall madly in love and lose 30 pounds and grow my coaching business 10x in the next 12 months, and then it doesn't happen?
Mhm.
That's what I feel discouraged. And so, what I encourage people to do, including my students, is let's focus on one goal pretty relentlessly. That doesn't mean that if you are focusing on getting your next rental property, that you're a crappy husband or like, a non-present father. No, you don't let other parts of your life fall to pieces. And it means that getting a rental property is your number one goal. And so I think that people are so tempted to try to fix all pieces of their life, or you say not gardens, what did you call them? The 5 pillars.
Mhm.
You're trying to fix the 5 pillars all at the same time. And sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes you need to focus on 1 or 2. Make sure the other ones don't fall apart, but they're not your main focus right in this moment.
That's so true. That's so true. So many people take on way too much stuff, and I was guilty of that for a long time, and it just put me in a rush and it put me in this anxious, nervous mood instead of just being like, look, every day, a little bit every day. If you have a goal, a target, you just do a little bit every day toward that goal and target. You don't have to be in a rush. Stay open to the possibilities of things coming your way, and guess what? Life is a lot more relaxed and a lot easier if you're in that boat. So tell me a little bit about real estate and what do you wish people understood about real estate nowadays? Like it's this is 2024 right now, and there's lots of stuff that has changed in real estate over the last decade and been ups and downs and whatever. But what do you wish people knew or understood about buying real estate today?
One, that real estate investors look like me. So those of you listening to this podcast and not on video, well, if you're on video, you're going to be like, wow, this girl's really casual. Well, yes, I prioritized a workout before this podcast, so I am not all beautified right now. And I think that's almost the point. It's like I'm in my early 30s. I started investing when I was in my 20s. I'm single, unmarried. I wasn't a high income earner. I already told you guys I was making $47,000. I am making significantly more money than that now. But I think that real estate investors can look like any of us. I think that I had the understanding or the belief that real estate investors were wealthy and old. And the reality was, is I started hanging out with people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s that were actively investing in real estate and had been investing in real estate for years. And so that's the first thing, is that you could be a real estate investor. You don't have to be handy. You don't have to understand buildings. You could live in an expensive market. All the investing that I do is long distance. I have bought property in a town I had never been to. I closed, meaning I purchased a building that I never saw.
Mm,
And so people here can do that. So I guess that's the second one, is that long distance investing is possible. My actual motto is live where you want and invest where the numbers make sense. And when I
great
say
model.
for you, thank
That's
you.
a great model.
Thank you. And I am fully nomadic. So I travel full time. I have apps. I have no home base right now. Nothing. I am living out of Airbnbs and hotels and have been for 5 years.
What I love about that though is that's so against the norm, but it seems like it's your truth and what makes sense to
Mm.
you. And I think so many people are living someone else's truth, which makes them feel depressed, unhappy, sad, because they aren't allowing themselves to express their full truth of what they want.
Yeah. And I think you started out this call with like talking about how joyful and happy I am. And it's because I know what makes me happy. And
Mm,
it's pretty simple stuff. I like great coffee. So I happen to be staying at a friend's house this month because she's in Europe and she has a very, very fancy espresso maker. So I bought the nice almond milk that I like and I used her frother and I made a really nice cup of coffee. And I know that I like working somewhere with natural light. And so I have all the curtains open. I actually don't even have any lights on right now. That's how much natural light is in this place. And so those are two things that I have learned that I like. If I'm going to work for 8 hours, which I am going to work for 8 hours today, which just doesn't happen very often anymore. Those are the two things I want. And okay, maybe that's hard. Maybe not everyone can go afford, a really expensive espresso maker. Maybe you can't afford to renovate your house. But what everyone can afford to do is to grab a sheet of paper right now or grab the notes app in their phone and write down two things that they know makes them happy. Maybe it's cuddles with their dog. Not that I'm not a dog person, but that's not mine. Maybe it's that if you can just squeeze in a 15 to 30-minute walk outside, that helps you with, your serotonin, adrenaline, maybe even, and just all of vitamin C if it's sunny out. All of these things. It's pretty simple to just grab a sheet of paper right now and write down two things that you know make you happy.
mm,
And then guess what, guys? Schedule that in. Like, I know it seems so silly to even say it, but are you scheduling in joy?
mm. I love that because so many people do not even pay attention to that. They just are living off of reactions. So,
Mm.
one of the first steps we help people on when we start talking about building a life that you want to build is being aware. Just being aware of your mood, of your attitude, of your surroundings, of what you like, what you don't like. We call it the asset and liability list. The
Mhm.
asset list are things that you love about yourself, things that you love doing, things that are great about you. The liability list are things that you think you could do better or the things that you think in your mind about yourself that are negative, which
Mm.
is what's really interesting about that is most people, if they just write down their thoughts, most of them end up in the liability section. They think they're not good enough, they're not fit enough, they're not smart enough, they're not wealthy enough, they're not enough. And I'm telling all of you right now listening to this, you are enough. And if you would just believe that you are enough, then more than enough will show up.
Mm. Oh, that hits so deep because I know that that's how my students feel
Mhm.
because they tell me. One of my students is just so impressive. And I won't like add too much detail or color to the story because I don't want to reveal too much. But one of the things that they said is, who am I? Like, who do I
Mm.
think I am to think that I can own this much real estate and launch this business and do all these things? Who am I? And oh my gosh, I had no idea that this person who I think is absolutely brilliant, competent, intelligent, a go-getter, like they're doing all these things that are going to make everything they just said true. Yet that's how they feel about
Mhm.
themselves. And so what I encourage everyone to do is just lie to yourself just a little bit every day. Just like a little bit, like, okay, I'll be very like vulnerable with you guys. I'm struggling with my weight and it is my number one priority. And I'm really excited that as the time of this podcast, I'm down 42 pounds.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank
That's
you. I
amazing.
feel fantastic. I look great. And I have a long way to go. I still have a lot of weight to lose. And so, what do I do? Instead of saying, oh, like you're still so big. Oh, you still have this. Oh, you look this certain way in this dress. No, no, no. I just lie to myself. And I'm like, damn, I look good. And I'm like, wow, like I'm so proud of you. Even though so sometimes I don't feel so proud, right? And I make sure I reinforce these beliefs like, wow, you are capable, you are strong. And I believe those things sometimes, but not all the time. Like when I'm super, super winded at the last workout class I went to, and by the way, I'm in Orange County this month. And so let's just say that song, One of These Things is Not Like the Other. That's like singing in my head while I'm at these workout classes because I'm like, oh my gosh, these people, I do not look like them. Um, and it's really easy for me to fall into negative, right? Let's go back. It's really easy for me to fall below the line. Oh yeah, it'd be so easy to look like her if I had a husband that, paid for all of these things, or if I could go to a workout class at 1 p.m. and then I laugh because I'm like, oh wait, I'm at the workout class at 1 p.m. And so, it's really easy to fall below the line, and you have to be self-aware now. And you have to say, you know what? I am happy for her because the really cool thing about the world that we live in, she can be really fit and wealthy, and so can I.
Mm. You also don't know what's going on below, the things that you can't see. You don't know what's going on in the background of her life. So somebody could look like they have everything and yet their marriage is falling apart, or they look like they have everything and their finances are out of order. What I like to do, when you mentioned it, was just find a way to be grateful and appreciative for everything in your life, even the contrast of positive to negative. The reason why I can look at someone that's really fit and not be jealous or insecure, and I can say, good for them, because I don't know anything about them other than they look fit and secure. And I can use that as motivation for myself and say, if I take little small steps, I can move in that direction. I could look better than I currently look. I may not look like them, but then again, they may not have things in their life that's going for them like I do.
Yeah.
And so you can't just complete this full story with a little bit of information. You've got to complete it with just your own information of who you are and say, that's fantastic for them. I'm so happy for them. In fact, if you think about most people, when they hear about someone who has done very well financially or even signs a big contract, if you listen to most people, the first thing they say is, must be nice. Well, that's good for them. But they don't know what that person did or what that person had to sacrifice or what that person's life is about. You have no idea. Yeah. And so when you see somebody like that, the thing you should say is, that's awesome because it shows that it's possible. And if it's possible, then maybe it's possible for me. But then it goes back to you. Like, you're like, look, just figure out what you like and do those things.
Let's talk about jealousy for a second. So that comment, must be nice.
Must be nice.
Might tell you that you are jealous. Like, you're like, man, I didn't know that I wanted to own a rental property, but must be nice for this 30-something girl that he's interviewing that she just owns all these rental properties. Well, let's focus in on that. If jealousy is coming up, or even let's call it desire, then great. Like, let's make a plan. Let's figure out how you can have those things. I'll give an example. A very good friend of mine who lives a very similar lifestyle to me, entrepreneur, travels all the time, very nomadic. I don't know exactly how old he is, but I guess he's 5 to 10 years older than me. And we have a really similar outlook. Anytime I'm in the same room as him, he says things and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just was saying that the other day. So I know that we are similar. That is something that I know to be true. And he announced that he is engaged to be married and they're expecting their first child. And my immediate reaction was jealousy. And I was like, well, that's weird because I don't want to be with this person. I'm not romantically interested and I don't want to be in a relationship with this person. Wait a minute. Do I want to be engaged and pregnant? And it made me go, wow, I didn't know that was a desire that I wanted. I knew I wanted it eventually. Having a family is important to me eventually. But guess what? Life has been happening whether I'm ready or not. And so that moment of jealousy told me, oh, I guess I should probably start thinking about dating. And I should maybe, take my foot off the gas when it comes to business or not necessarily health, but I think there's certain things that have been my focus for the last 4 or 5 years. And maybe it's time to put focus into romantic relationships. And so I tell that story so that if anyone here has friends in their life that are like maybe going on really nice vacations, or they just bought a lake house, or they drive a nice car, or they have a marriage that you desire, then listen to that jealousy. I don't think jealousy inherently is a good emotion. However, I think it's kind of like a red light, like it's an alarm that goes off that says, "Oh, I guess I do want that." So
I,
now what am I doing? I'm putting a plan together. How can I make space in my life to start dating?
I can tell you right now, though, that is such a wise statement where most people at your age would not understand that emotions are there for you to help guide you and show you what your true feelings or desires really are. Um, Most people react to their emotions and they blame. So they get jealous and then they start tearing the other person down. They react negatively instead of going, well, this is an interesting turn of events. What is this trying to tell me? And then looking internally and saying, what is this saying about me? Because I used to have the same reaction when I saw somebody in a nice sports car and I didn't even know I was doing it, but I was saying, basically, it must be nice. But like, oh, that'd be, what I was saying was, well, that'd be nice if could have one of those. But what I was really saying to myself repeatedly was, you're not worthy to have one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was saying. And so that going back to one thing we talked about earlier, that worth, having that self-worth of like, you know what? I do deserve positivity and good things and happiness and joy and contentment. Why should I pay a price that I don't have to pay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no law that says I have to pay a price to have anything. Now, you need to move towards your goals, but who's to decide that if I have a goal of owning rental units like you have nine rental units, 19 rental units, 20, 100, whatever. If I have a goal, who's to say the amount of price I have to pay to get there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't it be easy?
Mm-hmm.
It can be easy.
It can be easy.
Yeah, right. You get information from the trusted sources that have a proven track record, such as yourself, and you join groups that are around people that are talking about those things. So you're less likely to make mistakes, which makes it easier. It's crazy how easy it can be,
We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like
right?
buying duplexes in the Midwest while I'm traveling the world, or maybe your listeners live in California or Texas or New York, or any expensive market for that matter. It's kind of a step-by-step process that you can go on my website and you can read it for free. And then if you're still wanting more support, or you're scared that you're going to make a bad investment, then guess what? You can join my program and I'll show you exactly what to do. And I will hold your hand and also put my hand on your back when you need it. When you need, hey, Greg, I haven't seen you log in for 3 weeks. Like, you told me owning a rental property is important to you, yet all I'm really seeing is inactivity, or even worse off, maybe excuses. And so that's what you're paying for when you join, the right mentorship or mastermind.
And it's so worth it. I've spent over $500,000 in masterminds and groups and that sort of thing, but it's helped me make millions. And most people focus on the cost instead
Yes.
of the result.
Yes.
Don't focus on the cost, focus on the result. What is the result you're trying to get, and how can you buy the information to get there as quick as possible? That's
And
really
what is
the
it,
goal.
and what is it costing you waiting? So, okay,
Oh, that's a great one.
I'm unwilling to pay $7,000, $8,000 to be in Sarah's program. And so I'm going to go at it by myself. And let's say that they're listening to this podcast and it's, July. And is it going to be December and you're in the exact same spot that you're in right now?
Or even worse, you make an investment that goes bad and you've lost more than $7,000 or $8,000, because that's a very common thing in real estate. People make wrong investments and lose tens of thousands of dollars in one mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody listening to this needs to pay attention, because if you are interested in real estate, if you are somebody that is aligned with what Sarah's talking about, you need to go visit her. You need to look up her Instagram. You can see that at Sarah D. Weaver, at Sarah D. Weaver, and you can click it in the show notes. We also have a couple other links. You can get her book. You can also go to her website. Those are in the show notes as well. But just taking action, if this is something that resonates with you, if something deep down inside of you goes, ooh, You got to listen to that. Listen to that little, what? Oh, that's not, I think this is something I need to do. Listen to that. Take action. It's totally free to start. Go on the website. It's totally inexpensive to buy the book. And even then, if you still need more help, then there's other options that Sarah has for you. So thank you very much, Sarah, for being here. I really appreciate you hopping on and sharing some insights. I love the stories that you're talking about. I love the free spiritness that you really have. That just like, I'm doing me, I'm being me,
Yeah.
and I'm listening to me. And I love that because it's so rare.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I think that it's just waking up every day and being more intentional. Intention really is like been the focus and the word for the last decade for me. And so a lot of this is not by accident.
I love that. I love that. And you're so right. Because if you're not intentional, then you just get drug into things in life and you end up experiencing emotions that you don't like: frustration, anger, resentment, depression, anxiety, all these negative emotions that people are like, I'm so anxious. Why? Why? Let's focus. Let's think about why.
Yeah.
Be intentional about being happy and enjoying life. And part of enjoying life is being very certain. And so I hope you get a lot of traction from this, and people come to your website and come to buying your book and come to your either events, or they join your group, or at least go to your website or go to your Instagram and start watching videos. So
Yeah.
I know it's been a joy for me.
And if anyone wants to reach out, message me on Instagram, email me. I really do respond. But thank you so much. This has been a fantastic conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I could probably talk to you for hours because I love the intentionality that you are bringing. So really appreciate you for being here.
Thank you.
Everybody, this has been another episode of Fix Your BS, where BS, obviously it stands for belief systems. We also use BS for business systems and also balance sheets, because we like to talk about business and money and relationships and health and belief, because they all matter. And if you can get those things going in the right direction, your life can be just as fulfilled and just as happy as Sarah's has been today. Thank you again, Sarah, for being here. Everyone, share this podcast with people that you know. That is how we reach more people. We don't charge for this. It's totally free. We're trying to add value to your life. So add value to someone else's life that you know. Share this with them and add value for them. As you know, we are always going to be bringing great guests. Make sure you share this out, and we'll see you next time.